Welcome, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. I'm very grateful to see the list of names and the various places it looks like that you're coming from. And it feels really important that we gather periodically, regularly, to tend our own hearts and minds and to tend the world around us. These are fraught times. There's a great deal of conflict globally and locally in different ways. Um, and this program called A Calm and Loving Heart invites us to find a steadiness of heart and a care and a well-being amidst all the personal challenges and the collective global ones. And I've just come from last couple of days, went over to sit with the body of my dear colleague and friend Joanna Macy, who was an extraordinary teacher and died at 96 after teaching for so long about interdependence and what she called the great turning, the need for human beings to shift from exploitive and unhealthy competitive ways of living on this earth to one of interdependence and mutual care. And of course, the question is, that's a nice ideal, but actually, how do we do this? And this program, which will have primarily a time for conversation and questions and response, this program is to promote the Power of Awareness program through Sounds True. And the reason that I'm so happy to promote it at this time is very simple. We need it. We need support for steadiness and clarity, for cultivating the power of compassion in our lives and in the world around us. And the beautiful thing is that there are ways to do it, that it's not just a great ideal, but you and I and we can actually learn practices and trainings that do steady and calm our hearts, that do awaken a loving awareness and compassion with those around us and with the world around us, that this is really possible for us. And it's one of the great treasures of humanity that we have these tools and these capacities. Here we are, our predicament. There's a poet, Issa, one of the great Japanese Zen masters of haiku, among many things, who wrote a tiny little haiku. A room, a person, a fly. We have to laugh too, because this is a wild thing to be born as a human being, in our bodies and in our crazy societies and our loving and beautiful and, troubled world and societies. And this is what we're born into, and it doesn't go away. How do we navigate that room, the fly, all the things that are both beautiful and difficult? And another line from a poet I was reading this morning, Jose Alcantara: if we must have violence, then let it be the violence of violets, how they burst into spring before most anything else, unraveling their petals, their leaves, to attract all those who love them. So the power of awareness, I'll talk about it for a few minutes and then we'll do a meditation, is one of the best trainings that I've ever done and recorded and done with other colleagues like my dear friend Tara Brock. And what it does in a really systematic and helpful way is to go through the foundations of mindfulness, of how to work with breath and body, with emotions and thoughts, with mindful speech and wise relationship, and how to cultivate the inner qualities of the awakened heart, how to actually learn and practice loving kindness and compassion, and especially joy and well being amidst it all, and peacefulness. It invites us to understand how to deal with challenges, um, and not to be caught in some ideals of perfection. There's an ad I saw for our program today. Living with higher levels of consciousness gives you an imperturbable inner steadiness and practical insights. That's kind of BS, actually, because the imperturbable is not right. You do get perturbed, and so do I, and so does the Dalai Lama, and whoever you idealize and respect and admire. But what's possible is to make a field of loving awareness that's steady and caring and grounded, that can hold it all, including the difficulties and the worry and the perturbations, all those things. We know how to do this. We can actually inhabit our Buddha nature, our true nature, our capacity to live with loving awareness. And this training, in a very systematic way, in 8 weeks or 16 weeks, teaches you and shows you really how to do it and how to embody it. And it's also a preparation for those who do practice, for our mindfulness meditation teacher certification program, for the fantastic 2-year program for those who want to teach and offer mindfulness to others. Underneath it all is a very deep question. How do we live a life of compassion for ourselves and for all that's around us? What in your life is calling for compassion? In yourself, in your nearby loving and difficult human being community, and certainly beyond. And we can do this. So let's do a meditation practice that gives you a little taste of what these trainings will offer you. Let yourself sit in a way that's stable and comfortable and at ease. Settle yourself in your seat and feel how you can be completely supported by the earth beneath you. Steady, supported, just where you are. And when you're ready, let your eyes close gently. And wherever you are today, in the midst of the turnings of the seasons in the world, you now take this one seat in the center of all things, the reality of the present, and begin to open yourself to the field of loving awareness that is who you really are. Start by taking 2 long breaths. And let the eyes and face be soft. And loosen the jaw. If you like, you can roll your head in a little circle to release your neck and find a simple upright. Let the shoulders relax and the arms and hands rest easily. Let the belly be soft and the breath natural. And let the heart be soft as well, to receive whatever arises with kindness, with loving awareness. And now you take your seat as the Buddha that you are, quieting the mind and opening the heart, steadying presence. Bring your attention now to notice the breathing of your body. You don't have to change it or fix it. It's a gift that you can feel just now. Breathing in and out, or expanding and contracting. The earth breathes you. And relax with the breathing. With each breath, invite calm, invite ease. Just now. This breath, inviting calm to grow. Inviting ease to grow. And notice what it's like, just half a minute of relaxing the body, and then half a minute of being present for the movement of breath and the movement of life. Steady and calm. Let it grow. You become the field of loving awareness itself, mindful loving awareness. And as you rest in the present, sensing the breath, there will arise naturally all kinds of other experiences, thoughts, bodily sensations, different emotions may come, worry or calm, happiness or tears and grief. Sounds will arise. And as you sit, just as you can feel the breath breathe itself without doing anything, let these experiences rise and fall like waves of the ocean or clouds in the sky of awareness. You're the sky, the space of awareness, relaxed and steady, letting the breath breathe itself, letting the clouds of sensations and emotions, thoughts, longing and love and worry and delight, let them rise and appear for a time and pass. And you relax. You are the mindful, loving awareness, the sky of awareness. Open and kind. And add a half smile on your lips. You sit as the Buddha, resting with loving awareness and kindness. Amidst the 10,000 joys and the 10,000 sorrows, you rest with an open heart. Notice what's here and now. And what it's like to receive it in the great field of compassion and kindness. This too. And finally, let that field of compassion permeate your whole body and being. Kindness to every part of yourself, the beautiful parts and the scared parts, the parts that are growing and the parts that need to be let go of, holding it all with compassion, kindness. And then let the field of compassion open to hold the whole of this unbearably beautiful and sometimes troubled earth and all the beings upon it. It's us. And you are the compassionate one seated in the midst of it. And then keeping this spirit of mindful, loving awareness and compassion, let your eyes open. And what we just did was a taste and a little bit of a mashup of a number of the wonderful practices you'll learn in Power of Awareness. Ways to steady the heart, to connect with the body and the breath, to become the field of love and awareness that holds all things. And then how to set intentions and respond wisely. All of this and more. So now let's shift. And any of you who have reflections from the meditation or questions about it, or any other things connected with the training of the heart and how to live with loving awareness, all are welcome. Raise your little screen hand and we will put you on the screen and you and I can have a bit of a dialogue. And I look forward to it. This is something that's really a pleasure for me. How did that meditation go? Can you sense how helpful it will be to have the tools of a deeper and steady meditation practice in your life? So let's see who raises their hand. Oh, we have a little quiet break. How nice. No hurry. Take a breath. People are shy today. I kind of love it. All right. I see one, Stephen. There are several. Let's begin. Can you spotlight one of these people, please?
Hi.
Hi, who's this? Tamara?
Yeah, my name is Tamara. I'm
Tamara. Great.
here in Ottawa, Canada. First,
Wonderful Canada. We love it. Okay. Hi.
I can't believe I'm actually speaking with you. I'm so honored for you to take my comments and questions. But I just even my father, who has passed, had a collection of your books and teachings, and I'm a little nervous, but
Hey, let's pause for a second. Feel nervous. Nervous is fine. We all get nervous. It's how we're wired. And feel because you have the big smile and a kind of gratitude and the excitement, because the nervousness is also excitement. Just feel it all with kindness and say, oh, ah, yeah, here we are. And then from the kindness of your appreciation, yes, please go on.
so loving awareness, that term has come into my life after really listening to a number of your YouTube meditations, which was my first uh, addiction, you could say, in mindfulness. And it's taken some time to understand and appreciate what that means in general, but also to integrate it for myself. And it has been an incredible gift in my life. Um, I've suffered from depression and anxiety for most of my life now. And right now, typically with everything going on, I would be non functional and preoccupied with negativity and self loathing and disastrous, catastrophic perceptions. And I said to my husband last night, I listed a bunch of the things going on for me right now. And I said, I've given myself a gift, but for the gift that I have been growing of self compassion and loving awareness, I would not um, be able to cope right now. And I said, now I can feel and experience all of that pain and suffering and fear and anxiety and even the self-loathing and negativity, and alongside that live with loving awareness of the joys and positive things in my life that are still there.
So I'm breathing as I gaze at you on the screen because I'm so touched. And I could see, that there are tears, and they're beautiful tears because there's a tenderness to it. And in some, it's like your heart has been tenderized, and you're telling all of us that this is possible, even for, you know, someone where you say you've been lost in the fear or the depression. Um, yeah, you're a little bit like a songbird let out and saying, hey, I'm going to sing in the trees now. And it's so beautiful to hear.
The songbird is a perfect analogy because My son has an Ojibwe name that means bird.
Ah, there you go.
And he just actually stepped in here and
Oh,
it's
so cool.
Beneshi is his name. And I'm a passionate bird watcher. And so that analogy really speaks to my heart. And I'm going to hold that forever.
Well, if you look over at the screen, if you can move your screen to see all the little squares, the people listening, they get it. They see your songbird, your song, and what you've done and your beauty. And they look at you and they're sending their blessings to you. Keep singing.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Jack. And thank you everyone for being a witness to my sharing. Thank you.
So great because she's really talking about herself, but also all of us. We all have our fears and pain and our song. See who's next.
Hi, thank
Oh,
you.
hi, is this Gina?
Yes,
Hello, Gina. Where are you?
I'm in Houston, Texas. There are two Ginas in Houston, Texas on this stream today.
Well, good. There's probably other Ginas in Texas as well, but I'm very glad to meet this one, you. Hi, what's up?
Hey. Well, I feel much calmer after doing the meditation with you. There's so much happening in the world, and I'm feeling losses now, and
Yes.
and but feeling calmer and feeling more connected to everyone on this and throughout the world, really. So thank you.
What helps you in your life to connect with this calm?
I do some meditation, but I really would like to make it more of a habit than I have. Um, and I think being out in nature also makes me calmer. And talking to other
Being on what?
out in nature,
Oh,
in a
yes.
natural place. Yeah. And just
Right.
talking to
Well,
people who listen
yeah, go
well.
ahead.
And talking to
What?
people who listen well, like you.
Yeah. So, just to ask you to do something, if you don't mind, close your eyes for a moment,
Mm-hmm.
and feel, as you said, you're a little calmer from that meditation. So you might shift from occasional to more often. But I want you to feel um, that part of you that loves to be out in nature. You can even add a little smile because you love it, being out in the trees and the wild and the prairies and all of those things. And sense that this is who you are. That who you are is actually you're a child of nature, a
Mm-hmm.
child of wonder, as the poets say. And you know this, even as you tell me, yeah, meditation helps. Being in nature helps, caring. And this is actually part of your practice to invite this connection and feel it and let it grow in your life. How's it feel?
Yeah, it feels good.
Yeah.
And the next best thing to being in nature is thinking about it, experiencing it in your mind.
Yes. And then it calls to open the door and go out. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the beautiful thing. They say in Zen that there are only two things: you sit and you sweep the garden. And it doesn't matter how big the garden is. So you quiet the mind and tend the heart. And then you get up and go out into the garden of the world and listen and care.
Mm-hmm.
And I can feel both of these in you. Thank you, Gina.
Thank you.
Randy,
Hello, Jack.
hi, where are you calling in from?
I'm calling from Denmark, the
From
north part of Denmark.
the north part of Finland. Fantastic. Yeah.
My question is actually, I've only been meditating for 4 years. 4 years ago, I started meditating because I had to witness in a court case, and I knew I had to find a way to control the trauma and my own fear.
Yes.
And 4 years later, it's amazing. It has changed my life, and it's working. And my question is that people around me who have to go through something like similar, like my court case or my trauma, they ask me, how can I do this? And people, when they listen to my practice about meditation, they love the idea that I now find peace and this strong connection to nature and this compassion for my own life. And it's a strength. But it's really difficult to explain people that before you get to this point, it's actually quite painful to start meditating, because you can feel, or I could feel, almost everything I hadn't felt before.
Yes.
And I don't think there's no way you can skip this part. And when I talk with my friends who tried it, they get really scared, and it's difficult to explain, because for me it was my connection to nature and this feeling of deep love to the ground and the trees and for my life that helped me. So I think you must have probably met people before that they get scared when they starting to meditate. So my question is, how do you encourage people to keep on meditating without they getting afraid of it?
Well, first of
Because
all, Bill, go
yeah,
ahead. Randy,
just because
it's
it
beautiful.
is a little bit painful.
It's beautiful to hear what you've done, first of all, and I can feel it. You know something now, and you can't unknow it. You've learned it, and now you're actually embodying it and living it. What I've seen for other people, especially if they ask, which is, I don't go around trying to convert people as a missionary, meditation missionary, but if they ask, one of the things, two things that are important for me. First, which you're already doing, is that a lot of the support for people is just in your being, in your presence. It's not that you need to say so much, but they feel it like I do in you. You say, okay, this is cool. It worked for her. You can feel in talking how meaningful and kind of both steadying and beautiful the journey has gotten you to this place. The second thing to say is that it is hard to do especially alone. And so I think that for people who ask you about it and want to practice, what's really helpful is to be part of some small group or some group where they meditate with others. What do you do for your work?
I'm a nurse.
You're a nurse. So you probably know some stressed out other medical people.
Yeah. Yeah. Most of, not all days, but mostly.
But many, right?
Yeah, many days. Yeah.
So this may or may not be right for you, but if these are people you know or care about, I could imagine that you started a sitting group and you'd said, once or twice a week we sit together and we try to practice loving kindness for ourselves, and meditation brings everything up, but we can sit together and maybe take a few minutes to say what's coming up and what it means to hold it with kindness, all of it. How does that sound to you?
That's actually quite a good idea. I don't know why I haven't thought about that myself, but that's a really good idea. Especially because we can also do it online if we are in different part of Denmark.
Yes,
Um,
yes, you can do it online, and it doesn't have to be long. Let's spend 20 minutes, once or twice a week together, and then we'll talk about what's happening for a few minutes. Oh, you sit and you realize how tired you are or how sad, and then you say, yes, this is part of it. Hold this in kindness, and gradually you learn how to not be overcome and lost in it.
yeah, it's actually quite a good advice. Thank you. It's quite simple. It's it's a good answer. Thank you, Dad.
Yes, you're welcome. And I have to ask you, when I think of northern Finland, I also think about the
Oh,
reindeer.
no, it's Denmark, the north part of Denmark.
Oh, Denmark. I thought you said Finland. Oh, northern Denmark. Oh, no, that's not very far north at all.
No,
I'm teasing. No, I love Denmark. And I've taught there years ago, a number of places, but I taught outside of Aarhus at a center that was part of the highest mountain in Denmark, which was like, 400 or 100 meters high. Anyway, thank you. Thank you for your work as a nurse. I can really feel it in you. And your gift now is to kind of sit with other people. Good luck. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good. Daniel?
Yeah.
Hi, where are you, Daniel?
I'm calling from Arizona, right outside of Phoenix.
Oh, great. Cool Arizona. Yeah.
Um, I was gonna ask you, I've been on this particular journey in my life, uh, for lack of a better word, I'll just call it journey. Uh, but I, I've gone past through you know how this constant streaming thought that goes through your mind.
Yes.
People, I used to be caught up in that, and a couple of years ago that subsided, and uh, also being able to sense my emotions just by giving them space and things like that. But what I struggle with sometimes is sharing this with other people, because most of the people I know, this is way out in left field for them. So, and they're caught up in their heads too. But that's why I thought maybe uh, I did take a course through Eckhart Tolle, uh, uh, being present. That was very helpful. And but if I could just get more pointers or how to share, or do I just stay present around other people? I don't know. But
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
love to share this peace with other people. Yeah,
It's a beautiful question. Of course, I really like and respect Eckhart. Um, he's a wonderful teacher. And Daniel, I loved hearing how you have learned to not be caught up in the stream of thought so much. The thoughts come, but you're not so reactive and caught. And that how you can sense your emotions and make space for it. And I feel it. So there's this kind of well-being that's happened to you. And then you say, well, how do I pass it on to other people? So a couple of things that I've learned. First of all, you can't pass it on unless somebody wants wants it.
that's true.
I would go off on retreats when I was younger, and I'd come back, and I had my friends and family, and they'd say, how was it? And I was ready to tell them all the insights and everything, and all they wanted to hear was like one line. It was actually pretty helpful. I'd feel more peaceful and kind afterward. Enough. That's all I want to know. The first thing is that in some way, um, it actually has to come from their intention. The second, though, which is kind of beautiful from your question, as I said in the opening, this power of awareness is also a prerequisite for our online teacher training, mindfulness teacher training. And it's a 2-year training. We're now in the kind of partway through the first year of the current cohort. So the next one won't start for about 1.5 years.
Mm.
But it's a really wonderful way to learn to teach. You have a practicum, you get to practice, but you learn all these different techniques of how to help people quiet and center themselves, how to teach compassion and kindness and meditation in different circumstances. And I'm not sure whether it's right for you, but it could be. And part of what makes it so great is you become part in a larger program. You become part of a small mentoring group of like
cool.
8 or 10 people that meet, 25 times over those 2 years and talk about what is it like to share. And then you start to practice, and you put up a note somewhere and say there's a sitting group for meditation for people who want to learn how to kind of stay calm in these times, or some place that you know where people might be interested. So in a way, I'm kind of encouraging you 2 things. First, to wait until somebody asks, because otherwise it just doesn't go that well. And then the other is to say, if this is something important, which I hear, let yourself picture learning how to do it in a systematic way. And it might be a big part of your life. What else do you do in your life? What else is your work or your time?
I kind of had to retire early because of COVID and all that stuff.
Right.
So, ever since I've become more aware of things, most of the interests I used to have, I don't have anymore.
Yeah.
So I kind of just go wherever my wife drags me,
Yeah.
and I try to spend as much time in nature as I can, but it's so hot here,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I just kind of float around now.
Well, first of all, I go where my wife drags me. I'm always the better for it, so that's a good thing. But no, you're in a new phase of life, and in the Hindu tradition, they say that you go to school and you develop over the next years. You train and you become a young adult, and then you learn a career, and then at some point you retire. And in the Hindu tradition, retirement doesn't mean now you go and just sit on the couch and drink beer. It says now your task is the spiritual task of developing your heart and becoming in some way an inspiration to others as you learn that in yourself. So you're actually right on
Yeah.
track. And I can sense that. And I sense the genuineness of what you're saying. So this is kind of an encouragement for you that this is in fact your path. And one of the beautiful things about teaching is that it changes you. You get deeper, you get kinder.
Yeah.
Because I've noticed it. If I say something and I'm not actually doing it, it's like, ew, okay, I better get my life together. And so it becomes a practice that is also beautiful.
Yeah.
How does this land?
That sounds great. I actually would be interested in taking a course like that 2-year course. I didn't know it existed. So
Yeah. So check it out. And what
yeah.
I feel from you is both what you've learned so far, but also kind of the goodwill and your good nature. And that's very attractive to people, because it's what we all want for ourselves. And you're kind
Yeah.
of shining it a bit. So you're in a good phase. Something new, good has come.
Oh, thank
All
you.
right, take care.
All right. Takes.
Who comes next? Hello. Hi, is
Hi
this
there.
Kristen?
Yes, hi. First of all, thank you so much, not only for the meditation and the group, but for being so generous in real-time connection of questions and comments. That's really lovely of you. So, um,
Pleasure.
thank you. There's sort of two things that are coming to mind for me. And one of those is the notion of loving kindness for everyone, directed toward everyone. And one of my seeking ways of being is compassion for everyone, no exceptions. And I've run into um, a lot of energy around, well, then that's being complicit. If you're compassionate to everyone, you're being complicit in the problem. Where my notion is compassion for everyone, if we're having that loving kindness, that can shift things. It can shift, hopefully, to humanity. And I guess I have some curiosity about ways that we can remain sitting in that,
Yes.
even when that other energy is there, because that can become a little overwhelming. I don't know for anyone else, but for me, sometimes that standing up to that energy of, oh, that's complicit, that's wrong to do that. And then the second part is turning it also to oneself. I find that I can be pretty good at have that loving kindness outward. A part of my work is as a narrative therapy practitioner, working with survivors of abuse, and also as a storyteller. And in that work, it's a lot about stories that focus on loving kindness. So those sort of, they feel like they're on sort of two ends of the spectrum, the questions, but
These are
I don't know
great
if you have any
questions.
thoughts.
They're important and they're really, really good. And all the kind of things that people have been asking on the screen really are not just about yourself, but they're gifts to everybody else who's participating and watching. Um, I think we need to have a different understanding of compassion because these words are used in all different ways. I mean, you have the word love, and like I love Ben and Jerry's, chocolate brownie ice cream, but there are other meanings for the word love, right? And the same for compassion. So compassion does not mean being complicit. In fact, as Thich Nhat Hanh says, compassion is a verb. All right, empathy means you're connected with others, but compassion also means that you care enough to do something. Now, the Dalai Lama talks about the Chinese military that's taken over and mostly destroyed a lot of Tibetan culture. He still calls them, my friends, the enemy. He's unwilling. He's simply unwilling to hate anybody. And I know when I do my loving kindness practice, which is you practice for yourself and people that you love and people around you, and you can expand it in a systematic way, which we teach in these programs too. And you do then more generally people, and finally you go to the people that are really hard, right? And in many cases, they're the people who are causing suffering. And I realize there's a kind of words or inner intention, almost like a prayer, that I can wish that for anybody. I think about Bashar al-Assad before he was overthrown. Say, may you be free from fear. May you be free from suffering. May you be from harm and causing harm. May you find peace. You name it. You name the. I'm going to use the masculine. You name the bad guy. There are bad women too, but may you be peaceful. May you find a loving heart. So that's the first thing. You can use this in a way that doesn't exclude anybody. That's one piece. And then to explain or sense the difference between empathy and compassion, here's an image. If you're walking by a schoolyard and one of the kids is getting bullied in a bad way, the first step of empathy is to feel for them. And you can remember as a kid what it was like to be picked on and how bad it is. So you feel it. That's the empathy. And then the compassion kicks in and you feel the whole field of it. The kids who were bullying, who were probably frightened and were bullied themselves, all right. But then the compassion goes, you walk over and say, hey, this isn't a great way to, or you go to the teacher and say, hey, there's a kid out there being bullied. And so this is Thich Nhat Hanh's expression of compassion as a verb. You not only feel everybody's suffering, but then you say, what can I do to help?
Yes.
So how does this land for your question to start with?
Yeah, it lands really well, and it's affirming. And what you bring to mind is from 2008 to when the pandemic started, I carried a free hugs sign everywhere I went. And I started taking it to protests. And I've had experiences where people on either side have exchanged hugs with me. And then I've witnessed how then conversation, because the free hug sign is a gateway, it's a gateway to connection and conversation.
Yay.
And then I've witnessed several times people on opposing sides then talk and hug each other. So
Beautiful.
that idea, what
Beautiful.
you're talking about resonates so deeply with me. And then I think it's just the idea of, regardless of if people say, oh, that's being complicit, I know that it's not. And that should
No,
be
if
what
people
matters.
feel love, they're less likely to harm other people.
Exactly.
Hurt people.
Exactly.
All right, so now here's the next thing. I'd like to invite you to close your eyes and to let yourself feel the parts of you that are hard to love, the self-compassion. And maybe, because we all have parts that have, that aren't the prettiest parts of ourselves, or where we judge ourselves. And tune in. You said that self-compassion is hard, and it is for most of us. So first of all, can you sense that there are parts that it's hard to bring compassion to? Yeah, otherwise you wouldn't have asked it, right? We make mistakes, we're foolish, we do all these things, our regrets. Now imagine, as you feel these parts, that all these parts live on the other side of the demonstration there. You're on the side of the good girls and guys. And these parts live over on the, across the middle line. And what would it be like to walk over and give them a hug? What does that feel like? Try it and then let me know what it feels like.
Already, I can tell you, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And it's the external influence. I'm a survivor of sexual assault as a child. So it's those pieces that sometimes get reactivated. Thank you so much for that image. That resonates so much for
because
me.
it's what you're
Thank you
doing.
so much.
It's what you're doing. Does she want to get the hug?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's pulled it in. Oh my gosh. Thank you. That's beautiful.
So I celebrate your bravery in doing this. And the truth that hatred never ends by hatred, but by love alone is healed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so
All
much.
right. Thank you.
This is me hugging you through the screen.
Oh, and everybody else hugging you back. It's great.
Thank you so much.
Okay. We have time for one more. Hi there.
Hi.
So you're Sabrina?
Yes, Sabrina,
Yeah. Where are you calling from?
New York.
Oh, great. That great city.
Yes. I just wanted to, first of all, thank you. And I'm getting a little like flustered talking to you because I'm a big fan.
Oh, so
you.
sweet. Thank you. Thank you.
I appreciate you talking to Daniel about his good nature and good spirit, but can't speak for everyone, but I can speak for myself. I feel it and see it in you. So thank you for, sharing that with us. And then I think my question is sort of a piggyback to Randy's. I was thinking about my daughter and thinking about, do people have to suffer in order to experience this and move forward in this direction? Because then it also is related to the meditation, that the course, and using it in the education system. Like, would it make sense to do that if people aren't asking for it? If people don't experience suffering?
All right, so what makes you ask this question?
Well, because I'm thinking about I work in the field of education, and
Are you a teacher or
I'm a speech therapist, but I've gone
Okay.
for my administrative degree, and I'm thinking about bringing this to students. But would people be open to this if they haven't experienced suffering? Would other administrators be open to this for students that may not be asking for it?
All right, so let's just play with this for a little bit because it's a great question. Yeah, close your eyes for a second and I want you to feel several things. First, I want you to feel your intention. And if you gave voice to this intention, why do you want to do this?
Because I would hope that, and I know it's not realistic, right? I would hope to ease suffering before people suffer. But
Okay, so that's the first thing. It's your intention to help alleviate suffering for the kids, for the administrators, for everybody. All right. Now, next question. Close your eyes again. I want you to picture the administrators. Bring them into a room. You get to see them there. Now, as you picture them, I want to ask you, do they carry their own suffering?
yes.
Plenty, probably, in some cases. So what would be good for them? I'm not saying you're going to do it, but what do they need?
A sample of the practice,
They
perhaps.
need their own compassion. They need to be held in compassion because they've all suffered. So the truth is that that's part of, and you're telling us beautifully, when you bring them into your heart knows we've all suffered. Some in some terrible ways in trauma, but some in the normal course of human incarnation, there is plenty of suffering. There is times of aloneness, times of being cast out. There have been times of self-judgment or being judged by others. There's been inevitable losses.
Mhm.
Everybody's experienced losses and death and fear. We all have this.
Mhm.
So what you're doing now is you're changing your lens, if you will, to see them like these kids that we're in it together.
Mhm.
And the kids doing speech therapy, they all suffer in some way. And part of it may be because they don't have the capacity to speak in the way that other kids do. That's clearly one of them. And what I feel from you is how much you care.
Mhm.
Feel how much you care. Now, you can't like go sell this to the admin and say, hey, you guys are all suffering and these kids are, we need to do this. But what I can tell you is that there's a big body of studies and literature of how mindfulness and loving kindness helps in education. You know, there's this organization, Kessel, the consortium of schools that teach these kind of school systems. 10,000 school systems use trainings in mindfulness and loving kindness, compassion for their kids. And the study shows that it helps them.
Mhm.
Your kids also can benefit because they all suffer, as you know. So once again, close your eyes. And if you were to act, on this care in a really loving and skillful way, what would be your first steps? You can know.
Mhm.
What would they be?
I have some ideas.
You do.
Mhm.
Yeah. And maybe you can find a couple of kindred spirits in your
Yeah.
community who join with you. So it's not just you, but it's us somehow.
Yes. Thank you.
What I love thank you, is speaking with you, is how much you care.
I do.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And that's been true for everybody who's been on the screen. We kind of get these different questions and, concerns and so forth. And people who are learning how to really hold the power of compassion for ourselves and humanity. And that's what our world needs.
Yes.
So thank you to you
Thank you.
coming on. Thanks to everybody who's been part of this. I'm grateful, glad we could share together. For many of you, I think you'll find the Power of Awareness course really helpful, or even going on to the mindfulness teacher training that we have. Feel your own care, your own good intention, and how much we share. You can look at all those other folks on the screen. We're here, we're in it together, and we need each other in this time. So I thank you with much gratitude. Take care of yourselves. Blessings, compassion, courage, all those things.